Recording?
All right, so welcome everyone to another episode of the virtual travel party with Latino World Travelers. Let's get started. I'm gonna introduce our guest speaker, Orlenda. She has been with us in almost every virtual party here, so we're grateful that now she is representing Japan. She's gonna introduce us that country and how she navigated that country a whole week without being able to communicate with people in English because of course, they speak Japanese. So let's take it from here. Orlenda, this is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I must say, when all of this started, I bought bottles of wine and I was trying to save them for when I really needed them. But then you created these. So I am out of wine, but I did get a White Claw. So I don't know if I'm the only one drinking, but
No, you're not. I have a glass of wine.
Okay, great.
I'm about to get one, so
Cheers.
keep talking.
Cheers.
Don't worry.
I know. And my husband will be joining us very shortly.
Yay.
So my name is Orlenda, and I live in the Bay Area in California. And I was born and raised up until I was 10 years old in Guatemala. And then my parents immigrated here to California. So I don't come from a background of travelers, but as soon as I was able to start traveling, I knew that it's in my budget every time that I wanted to travel. So I have put together a PowerPoint. Is it okay if I share a screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. To share some photos, because I know it always helps me. So here it goes. And it has been a while since I created one of these, but here it is.
And please, if you have any questions, you could write them on the chat. You're gonna see at the bottom, it says chat, or you could directly just ask Orlenda.
Yeah. Yes. So before I start, I want to say, full disclosure, that I will be saying I don't know, and I'm not sure a lot of the times, and it's honestly how I felt in Japan. So I like to plan and have itineraries, not by hour or anything like that, but things I want to accomplish in one day. And Japan was not one of those places because I got married a week before I went to Japan. So Japan is my honeymoon part one. And so I didn't have the mental space to plan it. So I decided I'm just going to wing it. And this is how it went. Let me see. How do I change slides? Oh, there it is. Yeah. So I will be saying I don't know. And I'm not sure a lot of the times. And it was literally me in Japan. So I wanted to start with transportation. Well, I should say first, I went to Tokyo and Kyoto. The only two places, and I was there for 7 days, 6 nights. So it was very short, and one of those days was just kind of like our break day. We were not able to get out of our room that day. We were just so sleepy and jet lagged. So we took a day off, so we didn't have a lot of time in Japan. So when I booked my travel, I booked it to Tokyo. And then it was afterwards that I started realizing how I was going to get to Kyoto. And one of those options was the bullet train. and that was $130 one way.
Wow.
And that would take you 4 hours and a half to get there. And because I didn't have a lot of time, I looked into how much it will be for flights. And it actually ended up being cheaper and faster, 30 minutes, just to get to, I flew into Osaka, and that was $125 each round trip. So that was convenient for me. Another thing was when I arrived in Osaka, I had been traveling um, from San Francisco to Tokyo was 7 hours. And then I had 2 hours for my next flight that was 30 minutes to get to Osaka. And what I knew was that arriving at 9 p.m. their time, I would be very tired and not up for trying to see how the trains worked and get to my hotel. So the only option I knew that I could rely on was a car service, which was very, very expensive. It was $388 from the airport, Osaka, to the hotel, which was in Kyoto. And that was around 50 minutes, I would say. So that was round trip. But it gave me a peace of mind knowing that I would arrive and someone would be waiting for me there, and just take me where I had to go. And then the other cost I had, going back from Osaka to Tokyo. And when I arrived from Tokyo to the hotel, I knew that I didn't want to do car service and spend that much. So they did have a shared airport bus, and that was $42 per person. You arrived and you just had to figure out where your stop was, and a lot of people were very helpful there.
Did you find that the country as a whole was expensive, or did you find that it was like okay?
Did you want to come?
Fine.
Give me 1 second.
How's it going, guys?
Hi.
I'm Guillermo. Nice to
Hi,
meet you.
Guillermo.
He's from Nicaragua.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
I did find that Japan was expensive. And it could be because everything was last minute for me. But the places that you would go eat, again, I think it might have been the language barrier where I was not able to navigate it as great. But in the airport, there were people that were very helpful to find where I had to stand for the bus, and it had different locations. We only had to walk with our luggage about 2 blocks, which I was willing to do. So then I booked that one. Another thing that I found out while being there was it was very easy to, not speaking the language, to just book Uber because they know where they're going and you don't really have to communicate, but it was twice as much of a regular cab. So it was around $25 to $60. And I don't know, 25 would be a 15-minute drive. So that was one. But we ended up doing cabs towards the end when we felt more comfortable. So Uber is definitely more expensive out in Japan than their cabs. We took train one time, and that was, I believe it was $2.50 one way. But the reason why I didn't explore Japan via train a lot was because I didn't, it was either if I wanted to save time or money, and because I was so limited on time and Japan was in my bucket list, I wanted to hit a lot of things. So I ended up with saving time in this trip, I wasn't too concerned about budgeting. But if I were, then spending more time on train would have been beneficial. Yeah. And this photo here, I will talk about it in 2 more slides. So then, before I show you this clip here, one of the reasons why Japan had been on my bucket list for such a long time was because I remember growing up with like Mario, and my dad had such a hard time when we were living in Guatemala. I don't know what extremes he went to buy me my first Nintendo. And I'm not even like a gamer or anything, but that meant so much to me that my dad was, he gave me that at such a young age, and we were not, it's hard to live in a third world country. So I really appreciated that. And the culture, it's another thing. So when we arrived, this clip here, I thought it was so amazing. I'm like, oh yes, this is one of the reasons why I'm here. But one of the things that we tried to use was Google Translate. You snap a photo and it translates what it says. Well, that was a fail. A lot of the times, I would say maybe 15% it worked. But it was very, very frustrating because I thought it would be great and it wasn't. So we couldn't rely on that. But using it as a voice, like just saying, and then it would translate for you, that was a success. We got onto so many cabs where the driver would be interested in having a conversation with us, and he would use Google Translate, and we would use it back and just have a conversation that way. So that was pretty cool.
That's good to know.
Yeah. Another thing was, Guillermo was telling me, they really do appreciate if you try to communicate with them. So for me, hello and thank you was one of them. And then it was more like we earned their respect, right? If we try to speak with them. Another thing that I found out was that I had my addresses in English whenever I would get in a cab, but there was one person that didn't understand the address, and so I scrolled down where it was in Japanese, and he immediately knew where I wanted to go. So I would say having it in their language also, it's helpful for them. I have a photo here of this map. We were standing in a door that was never going to open. Can you hear me, Vanessa? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. And so I realized I had to go around. So a lot of just following maps like this, it's like, oh, okay, we have to go around. Yeah, so just reading maps. Tell me, yeah.
Did you ever get lost?
Yes. But where did I get lost? I think we got lost in Tokyo. And at that point, I felt safe. That was one. Two, I knew that I was able to take Uber at any time if I was lost. So I just went with it. Still walked around, didn't know where I was going. But because I knew that Uber was there.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts sometimes of traveling is getting lost. And if you know you can get home safely, no worries in there.
Yeah, we went to the bamboo forest also, and it was kind of a maze. Well, hold on. It was not a maze. It's just, I thought, there should be an exit if I keep walking forward. And there wasn't. And so we walked, Vanessa, we walked so much and I never found it. So all that time we walked going forward, we had to walk going back. Yeah. But you know what? Wow. But you know what? Being lost in the bamboo forest was epic. And that makes me feel better.
How many hours did it take you?
Girl,
I
maybe,
think it was like 3 or 4.
yeah, I would say 4. Guillermo says
Wow.
3 or 4. Yeah. Yeah. So that was wild.
One for the
And
book.
the Google Maps work there? Do you have internet access in the
Mhm.
street and stuff?
Yeah. So we have AT&T carrier, right? And then if we buy,
It's like an international day pass. It's like $10 a day.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and so that's what we use there. So we had access to internet. So that was another thing. Having internet on our phones, that was big. It made me feel safer too.
Yeah, of course.
So whenever I travel, I'm never a person who travels to shop ever. I'm there more for the culture and the people. But Japan, we did know that we wanted to shop only because Guillermo found out the Nintendo store was opening that weekend that we were there for the first time. And so we arrived very early and got in line to get in.
Wow, look at the line.
And
What
yeah,
time
there
did you
was,
arrive?
I
Wow.
love Nintendo too. I would probably be on that line as well.
I think we were there about 2 hours before they even opened.
yeah, and it
That
was
was the line.
very cold.
It's like the Apple line.
And it kept going afterwards, right? But the photo that you saw in the beginning had instructions that we didn't understand. So we just got in line, and Guillermo and I were just talking in English. Or was it Spanish? Oh, it was Spanish. And so the person in front of us said, "Oh, are you trying to get into the Nintendo store?" And we said yes. Did he say it in Spanish or English?
He said it in English, but
He said it
I think we were talking about how we were just gonna get in,
yeah.
and then since we didn't know, he just so happened to speak Spanish as well.
So he's a Japanese that studied in the U.S. living in Mexico.
Wow.
So I know.
What a
And I
nice-
was like, thank you so much. So we had to go around the block to get a ticket. Imagine standing in line for 2 hours and a half in the cold, getting up and not having a ticket and having to wait another 4 hours. I don't think we would have waited, but I wouldn't have been happy to wait that time. But yeah, that was one of our that's what happened there. Just people are willing to help you. So that person was living with his family while in Japan, but also kind of as a tourist there. We also found there were 2 times. One time we went to a restaurant and I couldn't find napkins. Right here, we just have napkins right there. We just ask. There, I just couldn't find them, and I saw that behind Guillermo, the napkins. There was a bunch of napkins, and I told him to go get some. And there was a Japanese couple next to us. So this wasn't a fancy restaurant. It was a lot of locals. And Guillermo comes with a napkin. I use it, and the guy next to me just points to my side, and that's where they had the napkins. And I turned red, and I was hot, and I was like, thank you," and I used my napkin. Oh my gosh, yeah, that was embarrassing. And there was also, their restaurants aren't that big, or at least that one was not big. And so our table was very close to theirs. So it was an older couple. But their table had a pitcher of water, and other tables did, but mine didn't. And and so I just kept looking at his, and I think he saw me looking at other tables that had other pitchers. And I was just wondering, sometimes my face does not, you can read my
Doesn't
face,
have a filter.
does not have a filter.
Your emotions are, you could read your emotions.
Yes. And so he just reaches to my table and puts the picture on his from his table to my table, saying that we could share. They were so kind, and I'm pretty sure they were locals. They were not tourists. But they're just so welcoming. You feel their warmth. You feel that they are welcoming you. Um, and that just because you're from somewhere else, they don't see you differently. At least that's what I experienced. So that was pretty cool. Um, so when we arrived in Kyoto, we just started. I didn't have an itinerary um, for the first day, so we just started walking. I did see like a big park, an open area, and we just started walking towards it. The picture on the left, um, it was when we realized that our Google Translate didn't work. So we tried to translate that. We had no idea what it said. We also didn't go in. But the picture on the left is when we finally reached the park, and that was the Maruyama Park. And then you go inside, and there's a lot of um, food vendors who are selling food, and other temples. There was also, what was
A
it?
lot of food stands too.
Yeah, the food stands. But the photo in the beginning where I had the transportation, we saw that in the front, and again, we had no idea what was happening. So I think that in the future, I would definitely be booking tours, because for me, I wanted to learn about the culture, and I definitely did miss out on that. I think I would have benefited a lot from a guided tour. Um, so when I go back, I definitely will be doing that. But I took this one upon myself. It didn't go so well. So the picture on the left was one of the temples, and again, the photo on the left, we tried to translate that. We also weren't able to. But now I'm just wondering what's happening, what is going on. Um, I thought when I was arriving in Japan that I would eat a lot of sushi. That was not the case. They eat a lot of ramen. So one of the places I went to was Engine Ramen. You can find it on Yelp and TripAdvisor. They're more known for TripAdvisor than Yelp, but I'm more familiar with Yelp, so that's what I was using. And I don't know, I think Sophia is here. Sophia here? Oh, hi, Sophia. So I know that Sophia is my friend, and she said she would be tuning in. She has been to Japan, so if you want to jump in and say something, feel free, or anyone else that has been to Japan.
All right.
But I thought this place was pretty cool because the way you order is with a vending machine. And that made it easier for me because the photos are just there. And so you just put the money in, touch the photo that you want to have, and that's what you'll be getting. So you take your ticket, and it says the food that you want, and then someone comes to you and gets you that food. There were a lot of vegan and gluten-free options in that place, which I was seeing that you don't find in many places. But I think that if you look, you will find. In this place, roughly per plate was $12. The beer was around $4.50. What else about this place? Yeah, so I really liked that place. Oh, while in Kyoto, and Guillermo's laughing here because listen, there. So we did a lot of things during the day, and this was maybe our last night there that we finally were getting adjusted to the time. And we found that the locals, this is where they go, is this alley called Puntocho. And they have traditional like architectures, and they have a lot of entertainment. I didn't experience the entertainment. I was too tired, so I can't really speak on that. But they do have food tours, and I would recommend that. And this is where people bar hop also. I read that online that they bar hop there. But so when looking for a place to eat this evening, they have a lot of photos like you can see on the left. So that made it easier. But it also in a way makes it harder because when you're hungry, a lot of things look good. So we decided to go with this place here. And I was trying to look for the name of the restaurant and I could not find it. Sorry about that. But we went in and we said hello, and they didn't speak English, but they knew we were hungry. So the guy said something besides hello, and so he started walking. So I thought, okay, I think he wants us to follow him. So a lot of body language right in Japan. And so he takes us to this little room, which I think, oh my gosh, this is so cute. I wonder why we're not sitting with everybody else. Are we special? But I don't mind it. So look at this.
That's so pretty.
Right? So it's like an open area. And I was wondering why it was secluded. But it was so cute. I thought, okay. So while I was getting myself settled, he comes back for us and says, let's go in Japanese. And so we follow him. So it so happens that this is a waiting area. It was not where we were gonna eat. So yeah, that was one of the things I wish I knew, but I wouldn't have mind eating there. That was funny. This was also in Kyoto. This is the Fushimi Nari. So it's free to go in. And they have a trail. We didn't go up the trail because that takes about 3 hours round trip to go all the way to the top and come down. But we wanted to see other things also. And but I had been seeing this a lot in Japan, and I knew that I wanted to at least say that I went. So I took these photos, and that's the address on the bottom left. And there is, if you catch the train, it is around 1 block, I would say. So it's very, very close if you will be traveling by train. And it has 10,000 shrines. I think that's how you pronounce that one, which are dedicated to the god of rice. A lot of people take photos here, which is that you'll see circulating on social media. You either would have to come very, very early to get those amazing photos, or I don't know, maybe I think that now you can just delete people on Photoshop. I'm not really sure how that works. But to get that special photo, and this one, you could see that no one is here, but in reality, it's just because it's turning, all the people were actually right there, like a few steps away. That's why it seems like no one is there. One of the things that I did while in Japan was take photos with my wedding gown. And this was one of the places that I wanted to do it in. And the photographer said, absolutely not.
Why not?
Because they don't let you, since it's I wouldn't say religious, but what would you call it? They don't, unless you're just your regular clothing, or if you're dressed up as a geisha. But just wedding gowns and taking photos and taking up all that space while other people are there, they find it disrespectful, and you will get fined for that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But luckily she is Filipino living in Japan, and she travels a lot and speaks English. So communicating with her was great. So I didn't have trouble there. So after we left that place, we went to the bamboo forest, and it was amazing. Again, to take the photos that you see circulating on social media, you'd have to go during like very, very, very early. And this is open 24 hours. So you can be there at any point. And then the photo, the reason why mine looks like there's no people is because I'm very high up, right? And it just seems the bamboos are really, really tall, but all the people are just below the photo. And it's absolutely free. If you catch the train, it is 10 to 15 minute walk from the train to here. So it's very, very easy to take train. I think I didn't take it, so don't take my word for it. And then at nighttime, they have these golden lights and the bamboos are just lit up. I was not there during nighttime, but if you Google them, you'll see the photos. Another cool thing that I saw was this video that I'm going to play right now. So he is giving a tour, and that's inside the bamboo forest. And you know, here we use horses, and other places you see like so many different things. This one is just a person getting his exercise in. This is about a block away from the bamboo forest. This bridge here. You can rent a bike for around $9, I believe. And they would advise that you come here during cherry blossom or the fall season. Let me see. My photo doesn't really show it as well, but if you see the trees on the background, it's purple, and the bridge, it's supposed to be like more golden. I guess if you saturate the photo a little more, it'll come a lot like the photos you see circulating on social media too. But this was pretty cool. A lot of people just stand alongside to see these beautiful lights. And on the other side, I believe there were boats. I didn't go to the other side, but there were boats with lights as well. So it's more like a show, but they're not really moving. It's just there for the photos, which is pretty cool. I was relying, and on the bottom says to not rely on Uber. I went to the bamboo forest, and then I went here, and after this it was already nighttime, and I just wanted to get home to the hotel, so I was really tired. I wanted to catch Uber home, and there were no drivers around. So I'm not, maybe because it's a smaller place there than it was in Tokyo, because in Tokyo there were Ubers at night, but here I am not sure what happened. And we walked and walked, and there were no Ubers. So we decided to come back in front of the bamboo forest because there were more tourists there, and we finally saw a cab, and that's how we got home. But it took us a while to find one. And what didn't help was that the streets were closed, so we had to walk back again. And it's just things when you're very tired and you just want to get home, you get like a little frustrated. But that happened there. Do you guys have any questions at this point before I keep going?
I wrote a question in the chat. I don't know if you can see it.
Did you have a language barrier with everyone in Japan, or did you find any areas in which English bilingual Japanese? That was one of the questions by Radaisi.
You know, I really thought that I would find more people that spoke English, and I didn't. There were very, very few people that I found that did speak the language. And even then, it wasn't a lot. I didn't find a lot of tourists either until I got to Tokyo, but that was very limited too. And I think it's also because I was with Guillermo. If I was traveling solo, I think I would have been more exposed or put myself out there to speak to other people. But I didn't speak English a lot in Japan or only with Guillermo. So that was one of the things too that, we just got married and I'm like, babe, I love you so much. But also, I want to talk to other people. So I felt very, very kind of like alone from the world, separate from the world.
Isolated.
Yes, I felt that way a lot. And I spoke with one of my coworkers and I told him how I felt, and he said, yeah, I had a friend who wanted to do this solo travel, experience it, and she went to Japan and she felt it was actually the opposite. She just felt trapped and wasn't able to communicate. And at some points I also felt that way. But I mean, the US, you just have everything, and we take things for granted, I think. And, you go to a restaurant, oh, may I have more water? My fork fell, can I have another one? And things like that. And over there is just keep it pushing. At least that's how I felt. And some of the restaurants, they even have a sign that says, something along the lines of not taking your time when eating and to sit the next person. So they're not very, in some places, it's more about, all right, you're here to eat, and then the next person comes in. But I'm used to more of like, oh, we're going out to eat, let's have a conversation. And in some places, I didn't feel as free to do that, especially with the sign that said they would sit someone else after me. Yeah. But it's culture. So, and I felt a lot that I was very careful with what I was doing, what I was saying when I would sit down, just because they're so respectful and I just didn't want to offend anybody. But they were just so nice. I think that one bad experience I had with someone was doing the photo shoot that we had. The photographer was telling me how to pose, and this was in Kyoto. And there was a man, I think it was his house, in front of his house, just brooming, and he just shushed her. I was like, oh, we have to be quiet. So, but that was one experience where I felt like, oh, yeah, he's not happy we're here taking a photo. Thank you. Another experience I had was that I use Pinterest a lot on the things that are touristy for Tokyo, and the Roba restaurant was one of them. And I was like, oh, what is that? And I saw like a clip of what it was, but I still didn't understand, but I still wanted to go. And this is what happened. I saw that the price online was $79. But I always check Expedia because if I can save a buck, I will. And it was actually $59, so I decided to book it through there. One thing is, when you go here, like, I think it's okay to go like one time, right, for that one experience, but it's not a thing that I would go again. The food comes with your ticket, but if you don't buy it ahead of time, there's no food. So don't come hungry. The food that they have at the location were just fries and chips and drinks. That was it. Another thing is, it's underground. I would say around 2 floors down. So I would say this is not a safe place to go. If you're claustrophobic, this is definitely not a place to go either. But I thought once I was there, the storyline of the show, it's a show, it was pretty cute, like something that my sisters would enjoy. But I like watching Disney movies with her, so I enjoyed the storyline. Um, and but what I thought was pretty cool is, and they don't really give the spotlight to the people controlling the robots. So you see a lot of people performing, but in the background, behind a curtain, there's a person controlling the robots that are coming in that people performing are on. So I thought that that was pretty cool, but they don't get enough credit of that. But you see them here and there. I thought that was pretty cool. And you would be surprised, this place gets very full, like very full. So purchasing your tickets in advance would be good if that's a thing that you would want to do. Another ramen place that we tried was this one. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but it is a chain restaurant. So I saw that they have some in New York. This location was in Shibuya. It is cash only. So sometimes if you want to be eating with the locals, you do have to be carrying cash. In this place, you don't have face-to-face interaction with someone bringing your food. You fill out a form, you put it in front of you with the money, and this person just brings it to you. And towards the end of this little clip, you see that he just doesn't put the food in front of me, but he also waits a little bit and kind of bows down as a sign of respect, I think. So I thought that that was pretty cool. That doesn't matter. If you can see their faces, they're still very, very respectful.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool. This one for solo travelers is like enclosed, like you have like kind of like a barrier here that if you wanted to, you could open so you can eat with the other person. So I did that with Guillermo, so I didn't feel disconnected from it. But if you're eating by yourself, it's just you and the food, and that's it. This place did have a long, long line, and I did see that someone was carrying a luggage with them, and that was very, I don't know if she was heading to the airport after eating, but the stairs were very, very steep and very difficult. There were no elevators, so if you're traveling with suitcases, that would be a little difficult to get to some places if you're carrying your suitcase. This one is the fish market. So I also wanted to, in Tokyo, I wanted to go to the fish market before I left. And there were a lot of things I didn't know before going. For example, they have auctions there. And I didn't know that they started very early, and they were done by 10 a.m. and I didn't get there until noon. So I missed all of that, which I wanted to see. But I did find one spot that had sushi, and we ended up going there. So one of the funny things that happened here that I also feel terrible about was I eat raw fish, but Guillermo does not. And so I ordered this, what you see on the screen, and he ended up going with a tempura. He said, just eat your fish. It's fine. You wanted to come here for that. It's okay. I'll have tempura. So he orders 2 dishes of tempuras. And then we find out that they only had one and they ran out of the other one. So the chef comes, he apologizes, and he says, we ran out. And he offers him the menu to choose something else. Guillermo respectfully says, no, thank you, and that he's okay. But the language barrier was there again, and Guillermo wasn't able to communicate to him that he doesn't eat raw fish. And there was another chef came. So 3 chefs came telling Guillermo that this is our best one. And then another one that came to apologize. Oh, we're so sorry, we don't have tempura. Are you sure you don't want anything else? And I think the last one, did he speak English on the last one? No, it was all Japanese, and we could just understand from the hand gesture that they just kept on offering something else. So they're very respectful, and they kept apologizing for not having something on their menu. We're like, it's totally fine. Guillermo will live. But we didn't know how to communicate to him that we didn't have. The Guillermo just didn't eat it. But we also felt like we were disrespecting them by not getting something else. But if we did get something, I had to eat it, and I was full.
Now I know I can't go there because I don't like raw fish either.
You don't like raw fish either? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there were other options, other restaurants, but Guillermo took one for the team and said, since you want to go. Yeah. Has anybody heard about this statue, the Hachiko statue?
I've seen it somewhere online. I forgot what's the story behind him.
Yeah. So it's a dog. And the name of the professor, I don't know how to pronounce. He adopted Hachiko when he was small, and the dog would go to Shibuya train station to wait for the professor every day after work, his work day. And he passed away after, I believe, 2 years of having Hachiko, and he just never came back home. He died of brain hemorrhage. But the dog, he's known for being such a loyal dog, and that's why he got this statue. For 9 years and some months, he kept on going to the same train station to wait for the professor that he just never came. But he did that every single day for 9 years. And you would be surprised at how many people are there taking a photo with this statue. So I knew that I had to stop by and also be part of it. I thought it was pretty cool. And it made me emotional. I don't even have a puppy, but can you imagine?
So someone mentioned, and Sophia mentioned that there is a movie about that, apparently, starring Richard Gere. So I was thinking on Sunday we're going to have a Netflix watch party. So maybe we should just watch that movie. That would be so much fun.
Oh,
I'm down. I'll watch it. Oh, I love dogs.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to look it up. I'm going to
see me because I don't want you to see me crying.
No, it's only like chatting on the side. The party works, yeah.
Wait, is it on Netflix though?
I'm gonna check now if it's there. She's like, you're gonna cry.
I need a good cry. I'm sorry. I need a good cry.
A good crying session.
Yeah, I need it. Or screaming. I need to scream or cry.
Yeah. And
we're gonna have that on Sunday. We're gonna get some wine and we're gonna like
there's wine here, so I'm excited. I will have wine for that. I just had tea instead right now.
The little things, right? The little things.
The little things. The funny thing about this is that, you know, I put the address here, but it's if you know Shibuya, it's where there's so many scenes in movies. And it's so packed. There's so many people here. And even though the address is there, it wasn't straightforward. And I'm like, where do I go? But then I saw a lot of people with their phones up, and I decided to go towards that crowd. And there was the statue. So, yeah, this was a must for me. Guillermo didn't know about this dog, and I told him about it. But yeah, a lot of people are there taking photos with them. Another thing that I wanted to say, and Sophia, jump in, but cafes for me, I thought they're like coffee shops, right? I mean, I don't expect like a whole meal, but I expect expected something. At least that was my expectation, right? They don't always have food. So if you see the owl cafe, they don't have food. They just have owls for you to play with them. Same with the cat one, and they have other ones, and some do, but other ones don't. So if you're looking into going to cafes, they're just check if they have food, because if you come hungry, you'll be hungry. Make reservations. A lot of people travel to these places to see those cafes. I was one of them with the Pokemon Cafe, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. Check if they are seasonal, because there was one that I wanted to see, and it was seasonal in Tokyo, but they had it in Osaka, and I didn't spend time in Osaka, and right, yeah. So Guillermo was bummed about that. So that one was seasonal, and yeah, check if they have food. The one I went to was the Pokemon Cafe.
That is so cute.
I know. Look at all these dishes.
Adorable. That's so cool.
They're so cute.
So we're planning a trip to Japan now.
Yeah, it's very, very Instagrammable. They don't speak. There might be one or two people in the entire cafe that speaks English, but the rest don't. Yeah, and you just point. At least I just pointed and accepted, and I'm like, yes to stuff. But I think we did good, and I must say we did get a lot more food than we wanted to. And a lot was for like the photos, because I don't know when I'm going back.
Did it taste good?
But yeah, these were so cute. The reservations for this cafe opened 1 month at a time.
1 month before.
Was the food good?
It was, yes. Well, I mean, okay, from 1 to 10, it was like a 7. So it wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't like the best. I did like the smoothie and the desserts, but the main dishes like the Pikachu and the Snorlax, they were okay. Would I go back? Probably, for the experience. And just because I grew up playing like the Pokemon cards, and just like thinking about like my childhood, I think I wouldn't go back to this spot. And that's it.
No value.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Question.
So,
Who's excited? Say yay.
Another question.
yeah, Japan was pretty amazing. And I think that next time I go, it will definitely be for a longer time. No,
At nighttime, did you see like the people dressed like anime like characters, or no?
No, right?
No.
No, because that's usually what I see like on TV. People like walking down Tokyo just like anime like every night.
Well, you know what? I may have not been on that side, because I also saw people dressed up on like on TV as like Pokemon and drifting. No, Mario. Am I saying it right, babe?
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, and like drifting and those little carts and stuff. But I didn't see that myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you get to do the go-karts?
Oh yeah, that's what I meant to say. No, because one, I don't drive or don't like to, and then Guillermo didn't want to drive me, so so that was a no. But it's on my bucket list. If you take me, Vanessa, can you drive me?
Yes. If you like Fast and Furious, because I drive like.
Oh, okay. I'll try it. Why not?
Did you go to the clubs?
Yeah. So that was pretty fun.
Oh, you went to the club?
No, I did not. It was jet lag didn't let me. And one, I'm not really into club scenes. But yeah, I didn't really do much of clubs or bars.
I always hear the streets are really clean. What was your experience?
Very clean. It was definitely very, very clean, which was very interesting to me because, first of all, I don't litter here, and I carry my garbage with me, so I did that in Japan as well. But you don't see a lot of garbage cans. So I asked my photographer, I'm like, I see everything is so clean here, but where are the garbage cans? And she said that they believe that if you are like whatever you spend, that you need to bring it back with you, not just let it out. I didn't really understand it. But yeah, I didn't find a lot of garbage cans, but they're definitely out there. But I didn't. Another thing that they have a lot is like vending machines in the streets. And I didn't well, they have like Cokes and water, like you definitely know what those are, right? But there were small little bottles that I didn't know what it said, and I just went for it. There's a label on the bottom, and they're blue, and some are red. And so Guillermo took a drink that was on the red side. Those are the hot drinks. And I had no idea. So he opened the bottle to drink it, and he found out it was coffee. And it was hot. I thought that was pretty cool because when you're on the go, there are vending machines everywhere. So you'll never be dehydrated. So that was pretty cool. And restrooms, they are everywhere. So I'm like, oh, perfect combination.
I have a question. More of like a comparison. I haven't, when I went to China, this was like years ago, but I've met a lot of people from China recently, and they told me that everything is payments and everything. They don't use cash, they don't use things like that. So they just use their phones, like QR codes and things like that. Is it similar in Japan, or do you still use cash and credit cards and all of that?
There were a few places that was only cash. And it's easy to get cash over there. But I used my credit card. I used my Capital One that doesn't have a international fee. That's the one I used. But I didn't see any Apple Pay or anything with your phone. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. What was the weather like there for you?
It was freezing.
It was freezing.
What time of the year?
It was their winter as well.
It was their winter?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went during their low season. It was December, and it was actually pretty cold, but like San Francisco cold. So it wasn't
a little colder.
A little colder?
Yeah.
Okay, a little colder. So maybe 40s?
Well,
Mid
like
40s?
New York cold.
High
then.
30s.
Okay, not New York. New York is too extreme. You said
I don't know San Francisco.
high 30s. I guess like New York. Yeah.
Sophia went in July and she said it was humid, super humid.
Oh wow. Was that?
Yeah, I went in like July and it was way hotter than I thought it was gonna be. I was dying. And before that, well, I don't know. Well, personally, I had developed a heat allergy, so you just got to be careful over there. And that's actually pretty common in Asian countries. They actually have medicines for that. But like Orlenda, I have to use Google Translate to try to find that medicine.
Oh, so you try to find medicine?
Yeah, to alleviate heat allergies. But it was crazy. I was like, what?
And how did that go? Did it work?
Yeah,
Did you find
just regular allergy medicine. And everyone I had interacted with was pretty helpful, trying pretty hard to communicate with each other. So it was good.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Did you want to share an anecdote about the thing that you order in the machine, the vending machine?
Yeah, I mean the vending machine, like there's pictures, right? And I'm like, all right, yeah, they gave me the peach one. It's pink. So I get it. It's a soda can. I'm like, all right, it's cute. Open it, and I'm all trying to drink it. I'm like, nothing's coming out. And I look, and I'm like, oh, shit, so literally a jelly in there. And then I look at the back, and there's little picture instructions. I mean, it's in Japanese, but the pictures are like, shake it first. which you would not normally think shake a soda can, you know?
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, it's too late for me. I already opened it. So I had to try to find like a chopstick or something and just, yeah, so be careful.
It was a actual jelly drink.
True.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, oh, it's
That's funny.
struggle. Yeah.
So with the vending machine, yeah. I mean, wow. Okay. I think that one's worse than mine.
It was an
Mine
But
was
then these are the stories that later you reminiscent and like you just laugh. That's what travel is all about. So
yeah. This was one of my first places where I was not able to communicate with people, and it was just like a culture shock for sure. But it made me feel better that they were accepting of us being there, very welcoming, very friendly. Even if it was just pointing to things, a smile, it just meant a lot to us because that was the only way we could communicate. But I must say, when we did take the cabs, there was a person that was giving us like a tour while he was getting us to our destination, right? He was just telling us a story, and I think there was like a Nintendo headquarters somewhere, right? He told us about it. And yeah, and he just tried, even though he didn't understand everything. I did take another Uber, and he didn't know where I was. I told him, okay, don't move, I'll just come to you. And I was just moving and seeing if I was getting closer to the car or getting far away from the car. Yeah, it took a lot of patience out in Japan.
did you guys have any questions that you want to ask her?
Vanessa, did you get your drink?
No, because I was so paying attention to you.
I didn't do it yet.
I didn't want to miss anything.
Sorry.
Drink break halfway.
Ask some questions. I'll be right back.
I'm done with mine.
I'm almost done here.
Oh, you have wine, and then
Yeah.
Flavia?
I
Are you
had my
drinking?
tea. I finished it.
Oh, you finished it too.
Yeah.
I think Sophia said she was drinking Jack Daniels.
Hot toddy. I just keep refilling it with more Jack Daniels. So
Eventually, it'll just be Jack Daniels.
yeah, you know, I mean, there's no wrong answer here.
That is funny.
Wait, so Orlenda, you went to Tokyo, Shibuya, and Kyoto. Is that right?
Yeah, well, to different places in Tokyo. But yeah, Tokyo and Kyoto.
I will be right back.
Is it true in the subway? Did you take the subway in Tokyo? Do they have people that push people onto the train?
Oh my God.
Is that true? Is that a real thing?
So hilarious. I've seen that too. No, I did not see it when I was there. Maybe because it was low season.
Okay. It's probably like during rush hour or something.
Maybe, but I can't imagine being a tourist and experiencing that. Oh God. Yeah, I kind of need my little space, and I don't know how I would feel about it.
Especially with our current situation, don't push anybody in.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Vanessa.
I'm back.
Vanessa, guess what Flavia just asked?
What did she ask?
She said if I took the train and if I experienced people pushing other people in. Like, have you seen when they're very crowded?
I've seen that in videos, right?
Did they shove people in?
I'm like, I can't imagine being a tourist and going through that. But no, I didn't. But no, I did not.
Okay.
But it was low season, so I don't know. Sophia, did you?
I didn't see anybody push anybody on the subway, but it was kind of, I have a different story. So like at that time I had gone with an ex, but so we went onto the subway, whatever. I don't know if everyone's aware of this, but apparently there's like certain trains that are specific for just women, just so that they can feel comfortable when they're traveling. They don't have to feel pressure to be around men. But we didn't look for that, right? So we just walked into a car. We're sitting down, and then suddenly one of the guards or whatever service people walked by and said, hey, like, you gotta like not be here to my ex. So then I was all confused for a minute. I'm like, oh, I guess there's only guy trains and there's only, or guy cars and only girl cars. And I didn't think about it, but we were separated. And then I'm like, no, there has to be one with mixed, like where it's like whatever, both genders or all genders. But then at that time we were separated. And then I thought to myself, like, man, I hope he knows what stop to get off. So we traveled the whole way. I mean, I had a book. I don't know what he was doing, but yeah, that was kind of funny. So yeah, to pay attention. If the cars have like, just like kind of similar to the restroom signs, you know, like if it has like a woman, female symbol, it's a female only train.
Wow, I had no idea.
I never heard of that there.
Imagine if the New York City subway had that, less women would be harassed.
Yeah, and grouped.
They definitely have that in Dubai. I experienced that in Dubai.
I mean, it's a good, you know, it's good to have it there. I just had no idea. So it's, yeah, avoid that.
Mm-hmm. How about the way people dress? I always hear like, make sure you go with your best clothing because they dress so well and like, you know.
Well, I mean, so earlier Orlenda mentioned about, or someone had asked a question about how like, I think it was you, Vanessa, like, is stuff expensive there?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of ties into, I don't want to say it's direct to clothing, but as a culture, they value like, you get what you pay for. So if you pay like an expensive amount, you're gonna get that quality. And so same thing with the city, right? It's all clean, so they value like quality, like looking good. But of course, like different cities are gonna have different styles. I think like Shibuya is way more street style. Osaka is way more street style. Kyoto is kind of a mix because it's traditional. But then you get a lot of tourists. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, they just have different kind of aesthetics, like a softer look, kind of like Uniqlo, like basic, but you know, quality. And the other one's more grungy streetwear.
Okay. I wasn't too concerned about what they were wearing. Yeah, they look fine. Yeah.
So I am so happy that you did this because next week I was supposed to be with my students in Japan.
I know.
And because of this whole thing, it was canceled. It was a trip we were planning for 2 years already.
Oh my God.
It was gonna be 19 students. Oh, and I'm so torn.
Yeah.
But I kind of lived through it through you. So I thank you for putting all of this together, you know.
Yeah.
And I know I will go back one day soon.
Yeah, definitely.
In actual life, not virtually.
Yes. And just make sure that you have a couple of days there. It will help you get used to the time and the breaks if needed, of course. Yeah. If you're traveling via train too. And from Osaka, I know you said from Osaka to Tokyo. I didn't do the bullet train, but that one does take 4 hours and a half. And they say that the views are amazing. I wouldn't know, but that's something to consider. Yeah. Definitely. Loved Japan.
I'm taking notes.
Anything else, Sophia, that you think they could benefit from?
Put it on the spot. I don't know.
Just if you think of something. But
yeah, I think I was just chatting, like adding stuff like as you were going through if I remembered something. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But I had a pretty similar experience that you had. But I don't know if you had seen my comment, but when I was there, prices would surge like as the night continued to get later. So it would go from like, and they would put signs up too, like, okay, 50% charge, like extra charge, 100% extra charge, 200% charge. And I'm like, what? That's a thing? That included food and travel. So I remember like taking for granted, it was nighttime and I wanted to go home. Like, yeah, whatever, we'll get an Uber. And at that time there was no Uber. I'm like, all right, whatever, we're going to get a cab. I'm like, oh my God, 200% extra. way too
Oh
much.
yeah.
Yeah, so you gotta like think about that.
Mhm.
Oh wow. You did experience the same thing. Um,
But is it safe to drive and like to get a car if someone wants to get a car, or will parking be difficult?
Don't know, didn't look into it.
I didn't pay attention to the parking situation, but they do pay attention to the stoplights, and they drive very safe out there too. It's not like driving in Guatemala, for example, where it's like there's a stoplight, but it's like
Optional.
they think exactly it's there if you need it. What's a stop? I don't know. But over there, it did seem they were very, very safe. Yeah. But I'm not really sure of the parking, or prices or anything else on that. What else?
Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for all of this.
Thank
We learned
you.
so much, and we are super excited now to go to Japan. Seeing it from your eyes, we appreciate the presentation you put together. That was like super
yeah.
nice because then we were able to see your pictures and, you know, kind of travel there with you.
Yeah.
At
Thank
the
you.
time.
I know that visuals help me, so I
Yeah.
put one together.
Mhm.
But thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.